We've moved at this light speed, and you'll know that in the last couple of years, I've been talking almost ad nauseum until you get bored about your 5 human senses and the mind, saying that these things create the perspective of your reality. Your mind, your human senses give you the perspective of reality, but that's not all there is. Let's move forward. Let's expand that. Let's go into the master's sense, which is very, very different than any human sense and the mind. Let's begin exploring what else is already here. So in this last year, with a lot of talking about the senses and about the going beyond the mind, we've done that. We've started opening, you started opening the master's sense. It's still coming. Some of you question if it's there or if you're doing it right. It's going to come. Don't work at it, really. Don't effort with it. Just feel into it and allow it. We've done an incredible amount this year, and there's a lot more to come. A tremendous lot. Good lot to come. There's a lot more to come, and what I wanted to talk about today is something actually very, very special. Something I noticed about 10 days ago in assessing, looking at the Shambhala energy. And I realized that for the first time ever, it was a revelation, for the first time ever, that your energies have shifted in a tremendous way. And I'm going to ask Linda to write this on the board, our virtual board. Just for Linda. There was an amazing breakthrough recently. It was a shift in your consciousness. Some of you are probably more aware of it than others, but it was a shift in the consciousness that is the first real breakthrough in the and. In the and. We've talked about it for a while, the fact that you're a human and you're a master. But suddenly I observed this shift. It was almost like watching your energy field, your consciousness, your energy. And it was almost, you could say, like an egg shape. And you've been in that egg shape for a long time. You've been feeling a lot of things, experiencing. I mean, your life is changing. Some ways it gets better, some ways a little bit more difficult. But suddenly, about 10 days ago, a radiance out of that old, hard, shelled egg shape into the and. Into the and. It wasn't just a few of you. It was a lot of you. And it's indicative of the fact that then it will come to the rest. Most of you probably weren't aware of it. You didn't wake up 9 days ago and say, oh, suddenly I'm in the end. But it was a perceivable shift. And I'm going to write it this way because it's difficult to put into words, but I'm going to say what I noticed was that you were becoming power-less, Linda, and energy-rich. Energy-rich. That's why I was asking earlier, what difference have you noticed in your life? How is your energy level? Your energy level has been, you've been consuming a lot of energy these last 4 years. You've been consuming a lot the last year in particular. It's affecting your body. Not as much your thoughts, but it's really been affecting the body, your overall vitality. But suddenly, with this shift occurring and getting out of the old consciousness of power and making that shift into the and, suddenly there's a new richness of energy. I'd like you to feel it for a moment here. Imagine again, here you are as the human, the mind, the five senses. And such a deep desire to move beyond those, but at times so difficult. It couldn't break through. You heard my words. You got frustrated with me because it wasn't happening in your life. You heard about the and, or we talked about abundance or the master sense, but you're like, damn it, when's it going to happen? And then I noticed it started to happen. Again, about 10 days ago. What this will mean, what this will lead to, is eventually being in a conscious state of and, not just thinking about it intellectually or philosophically, but really being in the conscious state of and. You are the human. It was never designed that we were going to perfect the human. It was never meant that the human was the one who ascended by their human self. It was never meant that we were going to create the ideal, perfect human. Never. The human is the human. The human has its biologies. It has its interesting ways of doing things. It was all about opening into the and, the master also. And that is actually what you've been doing. When that happens, there is a tremendous release of the need for power. You've been powering through most of your life. You still use power on a tremendous regular basis in your life, but you're suddenly realizing that it's not where you want to go. It's not going to get you what your real heart's desire is. So you've been actually releasing that. And as you are doing that, it opens the way for energy, rich energy to come into your life. It's a landmark, it's a milestone, because in the past, if you had large amounts of energy, you would have used them in a power way. So you kind of stayed away from it intentionally. Kind of like, I'm not ready yet, so I'll stay away from it. But now you're comfortable and trusting enough in yourself. You're at a point where you're saying, this is all going to come together very soon. It's time to come into an energy-rich life. 4 years ago, you would have said, I might abuse or misuse that energy and called it power. 4 years ago, you might have said, it's going to throw me out of balance to be energy-rich. But now it's changed. And that was the beautiful thing to observe. I had a whole different shout I was thinking about doing, but after that, it was like, now we can really, really walk on. I want you to feel for a moment into this whole expansion. Here's the human, as I say, like a egg shape almost, and fighting or working so hard for enlightenment, consciousness. And then suddenly, actually, when you give up the fight, when you stop trying so hard, suddenly it starts opening up, expanding. The egg is still there, that egg shape of energy is still there, but suddenly there's another layer. And it's not the human egg, it's what you would call the master, the divine. And that brings a richness of energy. Energy that isn't harsh. One of the reasons a lot of you stayed away from energy is because if you had a big issue in your life, the last thing you want to do is bring more energy into that issue. If you had an abundance problem, you bring energy into it, you're going to have a bigger abundance problem, or a bigger health problem, or a bigger relationship problem. So you avoided energy in an interesting way. Because it was power energy. It was old energy. But you finally said, no more. I'm going to shift now. And you allowed it to happen. It's the and. That's the master. I am human, and I am the master. I am intelligent, and I'm kind of stupid too. I have a tremendous sense of humor, and I'm so serious. I am a light body, and I am a physical body. You might wonder why it took so long to get here. There were a lot of issues. There are a lot of things you were still holding on to, and you said, actually, we're not quite ready. Not quite ready. There's some other things happening on the planet, not quite ready. We want to time this just so beautifully. And now it's opening up.